Alright guys, so welcome to Python tutorials for Blue Tech Empire. We are going to continue with the first lesson, Introduction to Python. So this is the second part of the lesson where we'll be continuing with quotations in Python. So let's get directly to the video. Now we are going to continue with quotations in Python. Python, there are three types of quotations. You have triple quotes, single quotes first, double quotes, and triple quotes. So you may be wondering why all these quotations. So there's a reason first why Python has double quotes and triple quotes and single quotes. Single quotes is normally used, but most programmers too, especially those from C or C++ background, are familiar with double quotes, while those from scripting language background, other scripting language, maybe JavaScript and the rest, are comfortable with single quotes. So speaking normally, you can use any of them. For example, in this script at the left hand side, I can replace all these quotations with single quotes and it still works perfectly. Just to show you, I can replace all this with single quotes and it still works perfectly. Yes. And note, if you start with a single quote, you must end with a single quote. And if you start with a double quote, you must end with a double quote. If you start with a double quote like this and end with a single quote like this and end with a double quote, it's wrong. If you start with a double quote and end with a single quote, it's wrong. The quotes must match the beginning and at the end of the string. You see here, now the program still runs normally. It's correct. We can try to run it just to prove it. It's correct. So I wouldn't want to waste time on that. Now you can still use triple quotes, 1, 2, 3. And when I talk about triple quotes, I mean either double triple quotes or single triple quotes. It still works perfectly. So here are double single triple single quotes. I mean triple double quotes. Sorry, pardon me. Triple double quotes. If I replace everything here with triple double quotes, it still works perfectly. So here we have, all right, so I use triple quotes, double quotes in this case, and it still work. When we say triple double quotes, we're talking about 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And note what I said, if you use triple quotes at the start, you must use triple quotes at the end. But you can mix quotes. For example, I don't mean you can't use single quotes here because you use triple quotes somewhere in the code. I just mean if you start with a triple quotes on a string, you must end it with a triple quotes, and if you start with a single quote, you must, or double quotes, you must end it with a double quotes. And if you end with, if you any quote you start with, if you start with a single quote like this, you must end with a single quote like this. So I just want you to note this. Yeah, you must end with a single quote. You can mix quotes within the same program. So I just want you to understand that. So now triple quotes are very important. I'm going to be showing you examples. So triple quotes, you can also have triple single quotes. 1, 2, 3. All these types of quotes are just for, you may be asking why all these versions of quotes. I'm going to show you now. There are triple single quotes rather than triple double quotes like we had the last time. So we have triple single quotes. It's also possible to use triple single quotes. 1, 2, 2, 3. All right, so there you go. And here we have 1, 2, 3. There you go. So it's correct now. So we can save this now. Let me show you from the command line exit um, CLS to clear the screen. All right, so we can, let me get back into Python. All right, so we can easily do this. Now I can still use the command line from Visual Studio if I want, but you know, I can use the command line from here just so you see it clearly. So let me use it from here. Terminal, yes, I want to use the terminal from here. All right, so I'm going to use the terminal from here. Python here. So let me use the exit. Let me use CLS. All right. So let's use the terminal within. You can use any of the terminals. You can use the default terminal, like the terminal from your command prompt, but I just want to use the terminal here so we can see maybe color coding like this. I just want us to see the difference. So now you can have single, like I told you. Yes, you can have single and double quotes, like I told you earlier. So let's see. All right. So now let me get into Python. All right. So we're in Python right now. So here an example. I want to create a variable called name equals to and manual. All right. So there is a single quote. I can print name. All right. I can print name out, and I can also use double quotes, single quotes for that. Name equals to Emmanuel. I can also use single quotes for that. So you see it's possible. Next, what can I do? I can also use triple quotes for that. Name equals to 1, 2, 3, triple double quotes for that. I can also use triple single quotes for that. And everything works fine, perfectly. Now, let's move to the next line. What next? So now here are some rules. For example, I may want to use a quote within my quote. For example, I may want to write a message. It's it's raining out here, so you can't go out. Right now, what can you notice? Let me print out message. Print message. Print. Sorry. All right. So print message. All right. It's raining out here. Wow. Well, it's just a simple typography here. All right. So it's raining out here, so you can't go out. Now notice the message. You notice we have a single quotes within the message. What does that mean? It means we can't use single quotes to delimit this message. If we did this, if we did something like this, our code is going to generate an error. Why? Because we now make Python is now confused. Is this the end? It knows it starts with a single quote and is supposed to end with a single quote, but somewhere it found a single quote within the center. So Python got confused and had to end because it knows the string ends here, so it doesn't know what we are doing right here. From here, it gets confused. So we made Python a little confused from putting it's we Python actually thinks we are confused actually. We don't make Python confused. Python thinks we are confused because we started a string here, we ended it here, and we started writing rubbish s raining something, and Python doesn't know what's all this. So it's confused, because if we just wrote like this and ended the year, Python will understand. It knows, okay, it's it. But we wrote and ended the string and continued writing some trash. So Python is a little confused. What's all this? So what I'm trying to let you know is that's why you see we have both double and single quotes. If you know your string is going to there's a way to solve this actually. I'm going to be showing you in a moment. But if you know your string is going to contain single quotes within it, then why not delimit it with a double quote like how we did here. So you see now we are free to write single quotes within it. All right, when can you use single quotes to delimit? For example, consider this statement. Dan said, I am not fine. What does he mean? Now, if we run this, Python is going to think we are confused because it believed our string actually it ends here because it sees a starting quote and it sees an ending quote here. And for it, we are writing rubbish. So you see the pointer, it's here, I, starting from here. It's from this point, Python thinks we are crazy actually. So you shouldn't, if you know you're going to have a double quote within your sentence, then it's preferable to write it this way. Use single quotes rather. Sorry, you can use single quotes. Single quotes. All right. So you can either use single quotes to you can use single quotes to like this and print message, and so Python knows we are fine now. So that's how you do. If you know your string is going to contain single quotes, you can delimit it with double quotes. If you know your string is going to contain double quotes, you can delimit it with single quotes. So I'm going to clear all this, exit, and I'm going to clear the command. So now we have how what of if we just want to we want to have both single and double quotes within a string. Now what you can do is within a string you can escape a character. Why? Because if you write this, it's all right. Let me get into Python. All right, if I write message equals to it's rainy here and you can't go out. Now, if I write this single string, um, we actually may want to leave this. Why is Python confused? Because Python considers this like a special character and we used it within our string. Python considers this like a special character and we used it within our string. So we can tell Python, we don't want this to be special. Escape it or ignore it, like consider it normally. Let it assume it's normal. One way to do this is I'm going to show you. One way to do this is to use raw strings. You can use raw strings sometimes, but let's not look at that because it's a bit complicated. It deals with when you're using backslashes. Now we can easily use a backslash to tell Python escape this, like don't consider this to be special. We do this. When you put a backslash before a character, it tells Python treat it normally. I don't want it to be special. So you tell Python, I don't want this to be special. So Python is going to ignore, it's going to print it as it is. It's not going to consider it as the delimiter for this string. Like it's when you start reading, it's once it sees backslash, it knows this character is not special. It skips, it prints it out and continues. It sees, oh, this character is not special. It prints it out and continues. And when it sees this, it considers this to be the end because it knows this is a special character that detects the end of this string because you started with this character, so you need to end with this character. So let's see if it's going to be correct. It's correct. And now you print message. So everything worked out fine. We can also do that for our special message, which had a Daniel said, Dan said it's, it's rainy here. Here. What does it mean? Now, the single quote has no problem because our delimiter is a double quote. So no problem. But what the problem we have here, for example, if we run, if we are going to find an error, the problem we have here is this double quote. When Python sees this double quote, it thinks it's the end of the string. So it feels like everything we do from here it's nonsense. But we can tell Python, no, we know what we're doing. This, don't consider this to be special. Escape it. Don't consider this to be special, so escape it, like escape it. So when Python sees this escape, it knows the next character is to be escaped. It's not considered the special character, so it will not consider it to be the end of the string. When it reaches here, it knows this is not special too. There's nothing special about this quotation, so it escapes it. And finally, when it sees this, since you did not escape it, it knows this is the end of the string. So if you press this, it goes, and you can print message, and everything works out very well. So now I've shown you how you can use single strings, double strings, and single quotes, double quotes, and I've showed you how you can use single quotes within double quotes and double quotes within single quotes, and how if you must use single quotes within single quotes, you must escape it. Tell Python you don't want to consider it to be special. It's called escaping. And if you must use double quotes within double quotes, tell Python that double quote within the string is not special, and Python you can escape it. So now, what of if you don't want to do all the escaping? You can decide to use triple quotes like this: triple one, two, three. Um, it's rainy here, comma, here. It's rainy here. You can't go out. And say stay in. All right, so we end it with stay in, friends. End it with a double quotes, triple. So now there's a confusion here because, so let's say stay in, friends. You know, there was a confusion there because it's like we are trying to end it with four quotes. You see, these four quotes. Why we started with three quotes, and we don't have four quotes in Python. We can only have triple quotes. So I think this should go. Yeah. So we can assign this to a variable called text also. Text equals to this print text. And notice that yeah, so print text. So you see what happens. Print text, it's raining here. So in case you don't want to waste time to escape, maybe you have a long sentence you want to write. For example, you may have some notes you want to write and you know it's gonna contain double, triple quotes and all these stuffs. Instead of worrying about the double and triple quotes, you can just put it within either double, triple quotes, or you can as well use a single triple quote like this, and you're free to put whatever kind. You can now use whatever you want inside, but make sure you don't use triple quotes, because if you use triple quotes like this, let me see, print text. All right, okay, so you are free to use even triple quotes within, but not the same triple quotes you used at the beginning. See, You should not use the same delimiter, because at this point, when Python interpreter sees this, it thinks this is the end, because that's what you actually used at the beginning. So you can put double, triple quotes within, but not single, triple quotes. But English in English normally, or in most languages, you don't have triple quotes in part of the writing, so you may never need to use triple quotes. That's why Python decided to use triple quotes for that. So you can have double quotes without escaping. You can have single quotes without escaping, and everything moves smoothly. So I just want you to see, you can either use double, triple quotes like this, or you can use double quotes like this, double, triple quotes like this to delimit your string. So now we have another problem I'm going to show you now. So let's exit this. Let's clear the screen and let's get back into Python. All right, so now what if you're really writing a long text? For example, I can copy this text here. What if I really want to write something so long, and I have long message equals to something so long, and I'm trying to write like a long message. Will Python agree? May I agree here, because, but let's say at this point, let's say it's one sentence. I just kept typing, so it's like the same line. But let's say I needed to press after the end of the string. I want to move to the next line to continue typing something very long. I need to type it on multiple lines, or maybe I want to write a list of items or a list of names. I can say names equals to, or subjects, maybe subjects equals to, and I write chemistry, chemistry, and I want to move to the next line to write biology, mathematics. And so what do I do? Like we learned in the other in the in from the other lesson, you can use a backslash to continue. um biology, biology, comma, um maths, maybe comma, in English, English, and I end the string here. But what happens when I print it out? You're gonna see it's still on a single line. Subject is still on a single line. So this backslash did not move it to the next line. It just told Python, well, let me continue writing on the next line, but it's still on the same line. Or we can use, rather than doing that, you can simply use subject equals to chemistry. We are going to see this. We can use an escape sequence to new line. This is an escape sequence. New line, biology. Um, we can use a comma here. We are going to learn this later on, about the different escape sequence in Python. We can use new line, maths, and next new line, new line, English, English. I wrongly spelled English. English. This was wrong. All right. So, and we can end it here. If we print subjects now, print subjects, you're gonna see it's all on different lines. But this is not the case. You won't always want to put /n in your text. What if you just want to write something long? Now this is another importance of triple quotes. With triple quotes, you can move to the next line easily. For example, you can write subjects equals to 1, 2, 3. You can start writing chemistry, next line. You just see I pressed enter and it goes to the next line. Biology, next line, enter. Maths, enter. and English, and I simply end my triple quotes here. If I print subject, you see it's printed on separate lines. So what does that mean? When using triple quotes, you can write on multiple lines. Very good. Look, let me continue. Right, let me try now single triple quotes. um Single triple quotes. um objects objects equals to, let me use triple, cars, houses, books, um let me say water and bottles, let's say chairs, let's say people, no, let's say finally let's just end it with tools. So, and we can use end it with our double triple quotes. Remember, we started with the double triple quotes, so we have to end with the double triple quotes here. And now we can just press enter and let's print objects. All right, so that's one of the advantages of triple quotes. They can span multiple lines. For example, if you're writing an email, you can write email equals to hi John, comma. Okay, I started with a single quote. You know, with single and double quotes, you can't span multiple lines. It must be triple quotes. So email equals to 1, 2, 3 triple quotes. Hi John, comma, a message remind you our agreement agreement a message to remind you of our agreement. You can say John, blah blah. All right, so, and you can end it with thanks thanks for understanding, even if they didn't understand, like so. And you end your message, make sure it's the same triple quotes you started with. Understanding, understanding, make sure it's triple quotes. Now print the message. You see it follows all your line. Email. All right, you see hi John, a message, blah blah blah, thanks for understanding. Very nice. So triple quotes is very convenient for writing multiple line statements. You understand? So those are the different types of quotations you have in Python. There may be more to that, but I just want you to take note of all that. So, um, normally you have what we call raw strings, but raw string doesn't really prevent you from using quotations because you still need to use the quotations. Let's try to see if we use escape sequence within a triple quote string. He is, let's escape this S, he is a good guy. He is a good guy. All right, you see, escape sequence still works within it, but it's not necessary. For example, even if we didn't put the escape sequence, you still have he is a good guy. So I just want you to take note of that. You can still escape single and double quotes within a triple quoted string like this. He said it's rainy. We escaped one quote. He said, is that that true? See, please, you can escape this and say, please tell me, and you escape it. Please tell me it's a lie. All right, now you see it's raining out here. All right, so here you can realize something. We escaped the double quotes, but we didn't escape the single quotes. So let's see now. In case we use single quotes, here is just some advanced stuff for you to see, but it's not really necessary. We can so you see, we said it's raining now. Only the double quotes were actually escaped. This backslash was written as it is. It was not escaped. If you look keenly, you see this backslash did not escape. It was shown as it is. You see, it was not escaped. So we could not escape the single quote. So that's just an example of how you can use triple quotes, double quotes, single quotes, triple double quotes, and triple single quotes. I think we have seen all that right now. So um, let's see a double. These are some of the rules. A double quote string can contain single quotes, like we saw. A single quote string can contain double quotes within it. Yes. A single quoted string cannot normally contain a single quoted quote, and it cannot span multiple lines. You saw. We can't write message equals to. We can't write, for example, we can't write message equals to hello and attempt to press enter to continue from the next line. It's going to be an error because it's a double quoted string. Double quoted and single quoted strings cannot span multiple lines, but a triple quoted string can span multiple lines. And if you place a single quote in a single quoted string, you have to escape it. If you place a double quote in a double quoted string, you have to escape it. But like we saw, triple quoted strings can contain single quotes and double quotes without any problem. But they should not contain the triple quoted string used to delimit the string. For example, if you're using a triple quoted string and you have some text, don't put a triple quoted string within a triple double quoted string within and try to end it. It's going to be confused because but you can use a triple single quote like this. Never use the delimiter you're using to delimit the string within the string. Do you understand? Yes. So that's just the point. If you want to do that, then you need to escape every piece of it. You need to escape every piece of it before using it. So like we ain't gonna do that, but like I think you need to escape something. You need to do something like this. You may never want to do that, but just in case you want to do that, you may need to do something like this. I think so. You see, before it can appear within the string. So but you may never want to do that, so you don't need to worry about it. So in that case, here is just an example of strings. Here you see a single quoted string. Here you see a double quoted string. Here you see a triple single quoted string. It can span multiple lines, line 1, line 2, line 3. And you see it can contain double and it can contain single quotes. Here you see a triple quoted string also spanning multiple lines, but here is a triple double quoted string because you can see here now from this you see a single quoted string. You can print them and you have no problem. You see, if you want to use a single quote within a single quoted string, you must use a backslash to escape it. If you want to use a double quote within a double quoted string, you must use a backslash to escape the double quote. And if you want to use that's probably also, I think with this, I guess you have understood single, double, and triple quoted string. So let's look at comments in Python. Now in Python, a comment starts with a hash. Any line that starts with a hash is considered to be a Python comment. Python doesn't consider it as any piece of code. So I'm going to show you from here. Let's close this. So look, you can say this program receives a user score. Let's try to add some comment to this program. So you can say hash this program adds extra marks. Python takes this to be a comment, it doesn't execute it. Comments are very useful. They help you to understand your own code, because if you write a very long piece of code, you may not even recognize the code after a few weeks or a few months. So with comments in the code, it helps you recognize the code or remember what you were doing at the time, because after 2 months, you may think you were crazy and you can't even understand what you were doing on your own code. So it's very important to use comments to explain your code to yourself and to others who may need to review your code to go through. So like now, we added a comment. We say score equals to int. You can say score is greater than 80. You can put a comment here. Um, good score, good score. You can say, you can put a comment here. Calculate bonus. You can put a comment here. Say display bonus. Understand? So there are places you can put all these comments. You understand? So print else. You can write this student does not deserve any bonuses or any extra marks. All right, so there you go. You can do all that. Now, there's a special type of comment. It's used in Linux operating systems. So I want you to know you may never have that, because if you're not using a Linux operating system, you may never have that. So I don't want you to worry about that, because this is not a Linux environment, so I may not be able to execute. But we have what we call the hash bang. For example, you can have hash bang um, um, root usr bin env env python 3. Now, this is very important. If you're not using a Linux operating system, you may not understand, but you may come across this on a Python script. So I want you to know this is a special type of comment called the hash bang. This hash bang tells Python something. It tells Python, if found at the beginning of the file, it tells Python this is an executable file and it should use the Python 3 program to execute it. It's similar to what we do when we want to execute a script, and um, we say something like Python my script.py. This is similar to this. This is similar to this because my script or script.py. Here we are using the Python interpreter to execute this. That's what you do here. You're telling a Linux operating system or a bash command line or whatever shell the computer is using that it should look for the Python 3 program found in user bin, the root directory, followed by user bin m. It should look for Python 3 program and it should use Python 3 to execute this script. So you can simply, with a Linux operating system, you can just simply say dot. After you use the command chmod to make it executable, you just come and say dot slash and you put script.py. It's going to execute the program. You don't need to call Python. And the reason is because the first line of the file has already told the um, the shell or the command shell. It can be a bash shell or whatever. You have told the shell how to execute this script using Python 3. If the script is an HA script, You can use SH or different things, but this is not a Linux operating system, so we don't need to worry about that. But you may come across it on your code. So I just want you to know this is a special type of comment. It actually has a meaning, and Linux operating system will use it to execute this code. Apart from that, comments start with hash. Whatever appears after the hash is ignored. For example, if you run this program, you won't see any of this. This just helps you. These are comments. These are comments. It just helps you, the programmer, to understand what's happening or tell another programmer what's happening. You understand? So it's not for Python, it's for you or other programmers to understand what you were doing. So comments can appear anywhere. They can even appear here. Once they appear, Python ignores everything. So if you run this program now, you're going to see it. They gave us an error. So okay, we need to save this on. They said Python 3.exe terminal. Let me check something. Script 1.py. Script 1.py. Right, our Python script is having a slight error. I don't know why. I hope everything is fine. Using desktop script 1.py. Did not give us a line number, nothing. So score equals to input, enter your number. So let's close this, or let's close this and let's open it again. So you know this compilers always have problem with themselves. So all right, so it's running now. They always mess themselves up. So now enter score 81. All right, so everything works well. So I just wanted to show you how you can use comments, and you see no comment was printed out. If you look where you're only going to see this student, what, display bonus, calculate bonus, this, it's because Python ignore comments. Comments are for us, the programmers. So I just wanted you to take note of that. Okay. So here are some comments. Blue Tech Empire is a comment. Pi, this is a comment. This is a comment. Here is a comment. You can even put a comment in the middle of a list. You see 2, 4, 6. I put a comment and I continued. In fact, once Python meets a comment, it knows from here till the end of the line, it needs to ignore and continue from here. Here is also a comment. So I just want you to see the different type of comments. So you're going to see blank lines in Python. All right, so the next we are going to look at blank lines in Python. So what is a blank line in Python? So in Python, when we talk about blank lines, we actually mean an empty line. For example, this is a blank line in Python. Either an empty line or a line containing just a comment. This is not a blank line because it has both stuffs, which we call statements or expressions. Here is a statement because it consists of two expressions, so it makes a statement. And you see it also has a comment, but we can't say it's a blank line. This is a blank line. This is a blank line. Why? Because a blank line is basically any line Python interpreter ignores. The Python interpreter ignores, not us, because we don't ignore this line because it has a comment, but the Python interpreter ignores the line because Python does not deal with comments. So this is a blank line. This is a blank line because we both ignore it. Python ignores it. Yeah, we don't ignore it, but Python interpreter ignores it, so it considers it to be a blank line. So I just want you to know that. And you should also know you can use blank lines within the command line. It's not only in a script. For example, you can say print welcome. You can enter to see these are blank lines. So And you can, but if you're within the body of a statement, for example, let's say we want to print welcome 10 times, a certain number of times, let's say we want to print welcome through 4 times. So we can say count equals to 4. You can want to say um, or let's say, okay, let me do it like this. So count equals to 4. We can say while count less than, no, less than, while, let's say start equals to 0. We can now say while start less than count. Count, what do you do? Look what you do. While start less than count, we can say 1, 2, print welcome. Let's make welcome look a bit presentable. All right, print welcome. And at this point, we can say, what can we say at this point? We can say, let me check. We can say, after printing welcome, we can say the next line, 1, 2, we can say print how many left. This is the first, so we have 3 left, so we should have start minus start count. Okay, so we have let me see, we have count minus print count minus start plus 1. You don't need to worry about the code. We're going to learn all the start plus 1 times left. I just want you to notice something I'm going to be showing you now. Okay, so now if you print, print count minus start plus 1 comma times left. All right, now if you want to create a blank line in Python, you need to press enter twice. You understand? You need to press enter twice. 1, 2, print. This is a mistake. Oh, this ending something. How to end it? That was an infinite loop. So let's say while yes, count equals to 4, start equals to 0, while start is less than count. 1, 2, 3, 4. Print count, no, print welcome. Now, if you press, oh, welcome at all. Anyway, let's just keep this exercise because it's going to be taking a lot of time. Or let me try it again. So let me try it again. So count equals to 4, start equals to 0, while yes, print welcome. Normally we need to increase start by 1. So from here you need to say start plus equals to 1 is to prevent an infinite loop. So what I had was an infinite loop, so I want to prevent an infinite loop. And now if you press enter twice, it's going to end. So you see three welcome. So when you're in a when you're in the on the interactive prompt, you need to press enter twice, like I showed you earlier, because I remember I've showed you this before. You need to press enter twice. So this is a blank line, but we needed to press enter twice in order to go out of the body of this while statement. You must press enter twice. So here is an example. When using the interactive mode, you must enter an empty line twice to terminate a multi-line statement as shown below. So yeah, so just that small complication was the problem. A lot of, oh wow, it printed a lot of stuff. So let's move to the next. Let's go now to waiting for user input. Now, waiting for user input, we have done examples showing that is to collect an input from the user. So I'm going to wipe all this. Now, it's called a prompt. So I'm going to use the comment waiting for user input. All right, so waiting for user input. Now, to wait to collect a user input, we use input. Now, what happens is when the computer sees input, see what happens. Let's run this and see what is going to happen. Let's run this. It's waiting for an input. I type some random text. Okay, sorry, not here. I'll type in some random text down here and I press enter, and there's all. So it was waiting. Let's see it again. It's waiting for an input. Type some random text and you press enter, and that's all. It ends. So now, to just wait for an input may be strange, so you usually want to write something out like print, enter your name before calling input. And in this case now, let's see how it looks. Run, print, enter your name. So at least we know it's waiting for us to enter our name, and we can write something like, all right, now in this case, let's say now we didn't save the input, so we can't do anything with the input. To save the input, you must save it in a variable or an identifier called, let's say, call it name equals to input, enter your name. In this case now, when the user enter its name, we can print out your name is whatever the user entered as name. So let's try this now. Run, enter your name. What I'm typing here, no, not here. Sorry, I want to type down here. You must type here when executing the script. So enter your name. All right. So it said your name is Manuel. So here is how you actually ask for input from the user. Now, everything a user enters is considered to be a string. Let me show you. So let's type. I'll show you this. You use the type command to check the type of a variable. Type name. You look at what it is now. So print. Let me say print type name. Print type name. I just want to, or let's call it in. Let's say tell the user enter some text or something. Enter something, and the user enters something. We called it user input. User input, and we now say okay. Print out the type user input. I just want to show you something which is very important for you to understand. All right, now look, if you run this code, let's say cls cancel. Now let's execute this code. Look at the output. Enter something. I entered school. He said it's of class str. We are going to look at this later on. It's a string. Now let me run it again. Enter something. I entered 58. It's still a string. So it considered I entered something like 5 8. It considered I entered something like 5 8. That's what it considered. So what I want you to know is even if you enter a number, it's still considered to be a string representation. It's like you enter the number within quotes. So if you really need a number, you have to convert it to maybe an int or a float. I just want to make it to know. For example, let's say we want to collect um, scores from a user, and we say enter score, and we say score score equals to input. Now, if we want to print, if we say final score equals to score, we want to add 10 to the user score plus 10, and then we print final score, final score, scores, sorry, score, yeah. So now what do you think is going to happen here? Let's see now what's going to happen here. Enter score, I have 80. Oh, sorry. I'm editing the code. I want to click down here. Let me enter 80. 80. Look what happens. Look what happens. They said there's an error. Can't concatenate string, not can only concatenate string, not integer. It thought we are trying to add a string here to 10. Like, I entered 80. It considered I entered something like this. 80. That's what it considered. Whatever you enter on the keyboard is considered to be a string. And this 80 is not a number, it's a string because it's within quotes. We're going to see strings later on. It's within quotes. So you cannot add 80. Like if we execute this program, it's still going to give us the same kind of error. Enter score. It's not normally going to use my score. Sorry. What I need to enter it down here. I always do this mistake. Now see, it's trying to add 80 plus 10. You cannot do that. So what do we do if we want to convert a string which is actually a number but is within quotes to a number? We use what we call int or float. Normally int means it does not have decimal point, float means it has decimal point. So in this case, I'll use int before input, which means, or I can use this, or let's say I'll collect it from the user first, and before using it I'll convert it. I'll say I want the integer, like int, convert score to an integer before adding it to 10, and then print final score. So let's see what happens when we execute it. So let's execute it and see what happens. Enter score 80. All right, so it gave us 90. Now why? Because when you convert this to score to an int, it becomes 80 like this, no longer 80 like this. Yes. Now if you convert it to a float, it will be 80.0. So you have 90.0, be 80.0 plus 10, which is 90.0. So, or depending on what we enter, let's say we enter 90, it's going to be 100.0. So you see 100.0. We are going to learn about floats and this stuff later on. So I just want to show you. Another way is we can convert it right from when the user enters it, like this, int. So what we are saying is collect an input, convert it at once to integer before storing it in score. So at this point, score is already an integer. So we can use it now here because the return value of this is going to be an integer. So score is an integer. So we can run it like this and it still works perfectly. If you say 70, it gives us 80 perfectly. Now, because a prompt must always have a because instead of writing print enter score and then input, Python decided to help us by making this short. within the input we can write the message like enter score like this. So within your input statement, you can put a string within it, and that string is what will be shown rather than an empty cursor waiting for input. You have, for example, if you do like this, you have, you see now, enter your score, and now you can type it. So input with something within it creates some kind of a prompt. You can leave it empty, but if you leave it empty, the user is just gonna see an empty cursor waiting for an input like this. As you see, you understand? But if you put something within it like this, enter score as integer, that's what the user is going to see. So you see enter score as integer, and this you can enter 14, for example, and give you 24. So that's basically how waiting for user inputs work. All right, so now we are getting towards the end, where you may be wondering, most programming languages use semicolon to separate lines of text, and Python is not an exception. Python also uses semicolons to separate lines of text. Let's say you have 5 inputs, for example, var1, you want to call it var1 equals to 0, var2 equals to 0, var3 equals to 0, var4 equals to 0, and var5 equals to 0. Wow. And you want to collect values to save in all these 5 variables and then find the average. The long thing, what you're going to do, which is very long, is you're going to write something long like input enter test var, something like this. Input enter first var 2 3 4 5, first var input enter second, enter third, enter fourth, and enter fifth var. Now you want to find the average. You're going to say average equals to var1 plus var2 plus var3 plus var4 plus var5 divided by 5. Then you can print average of the values you enter this, and you can write average. So now you can try to run the code. We need enough space since we are asking a lot from the user. Yes. All right, so let's try to run this code. You see enter first var 7, 5, 61, and lastly 88. Okay, give us a type error. What were we trying to do? We caught an error. What happened? We tried to add stuff. Okay, we tried to add stuff together like this. Let's try it. Sorry, it was a mistake. We're still going to get an error, but I just want to show you how careful you should be. So I know some of you have already spotted the error. So 5, 7, 21, 55. Average value is 0.0. Why? Because we didn't convert these stuffs to integers. So we can write int or float, because it can be a decimal. The user may want to enter a decimal, so it's good to use float. So I just want you to take note of this. Every input that comes in from the keyboard is considered to be a string. So if you want to use it as a digit or a number, either you convert it to an integer or you convert it to a float, depending on how you want to use it. So I need to convert it to a float. And secondly, I need to assign it to the variables. One equals to, these are just slight mistakes you can make, even though this variable's own was var3 equals to var4 equals to, and var5 equals to. So now I think we should run without any error. So 5, 7, 11, 16, 19. So average is 11.6. Perfect. Now, this code may be too long and you want to make it a little bit compact. In Python, you can end all lines with semicolon, but it's not really necessary. It's not necessary. It works. It's not necessary. Um, Python would not complain. It will still do the same stuffs. Oh, sorry, I'm doing something wrong. So I always do make this mistake. I always write here instead of writing GSCLS. All right, so let's what's next? So let's execute this and see. Okay. Oh, I still make the same mistakes. So all right, so 5.8. Now, the real use of semicolon come when you want to put multiple statements on the same line. For example, if you want to write like this, it's now important to use semicolon. It's inevitable. Let's say we want to even join this together on the same line. Say this. So here is how it works. Now, once you have multiple statements on the same line, you must separate them with semicolons. It's possible in Python, you have to separate them with semicolon. So this can still run. I'm going to show you this can still run. Yeah, so that can still run. It's 5.0. All right. So if you remove these semicolons, you're going to have a problem. You see, it's already wrong. It is not even going to execute. It's going to generate an error like you see. So just want you to know, if you want to put statements on the same line in Python, maybe to make your code a little bit compact, you will see places where you have to do that sometimes just to make our code look compact. Instead of writing var1, var2, you just need to put everything on the same line. So you see var1, var2, var3, var4, var5, and we did this with some compact statements. We placed these statements on the same line too. A semicolon is not needed here because it ends the line, except you want to put another statement after it. So even here, you don't really need a semicolon because nothing comes after it. You see, Python knows that's the end. So of the line, so you can do it like this. So at this point, your code is a little bit compact rather than the original code we wrote before, but because you're writing multiple statements on the same line, you have to use a semicolon to separate them. So that's the use of semicolon in Python, to separate statements on the same line like we just did here. So we've done waiting for user input. You see here is an example. We saw name input, age input. You can input, can we know your age? So here is how you can collect input. So I just wanted to show you, and you can see multiple statements on a single line. You see, So here you can see, and like it's not just limited to that. Like you can see var 1 equals 20, var 2. Normally this is a program. Var 2 equals 40. No, you don't even need this now. Product equals to var 1 times var 2 print product. Now this is a simple program where you can see um, product 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 is products first out. So you can do like this and print it out. Simply print it out. Let's see. All right, product is 800. Now, if you want this to be on a single line, it's simple. You have to separate it with semicolon like this and like this. And there you go. You have the same code like before, but this time your code is on a single line and it still works 800. Now, the advantage of this too is you can now save this piece of code on a string and save it. Like I told you about the exec command, which helps you to execute a string as code. So for example, if we save this, say code 1 equals to, we can save this as a string. Let's use triple quotes because we have double quotes within. Let's use triple quotes because we have double quotes within. All right, so we can simply come and say exec. We can even print the code so it's actually a string. It's not, or we can print the code so you see it. We can even print the type of the code of code 1, sorry, 1. So you actually see it's actually a string. Like you see it's a string. Then now we can use the exec command to execute it. So let's see, it should give us 80 at the end. Yes, 800. So note, without the semicolon, this wouldn't even be possible, because how will you put multiple statements within a string? You need to, these are all statements, but it's this semicolon that actually separates them. Without this semicolon, exec will fail, of course. Exec will, of course, will fail. So you have an error because, see, there's an error. So I just want to show you it's possible to do. That's one use. If you want to save code within a string, you have to use the exec command. Or you can still do something more complex, but since it's triple quotes, you can use enter and enter. But we don't want to do all that here. It's just complicated stuff for nothing. You can do this. Maybe you'll be lucky, it may work. Let me see. Yeah, it worked. So you can do this, but if you want it to be on a single line, or if you need to put it within single quotes, for example, let's say this. You see, if you want to put it within single quotes, for example, you must use semicolon to separate it. I'm using single quotes because we have some double quotes in here, so I can't use double quotes to delimit it. So you have, right, which error do we have? Okay, I removed the semicolon here some time ago. I think it should run now properly. All right, 800. So there is an example of how you can use. So multiple statement groups are sweet. So I explained to you guys, if you have an if statement, for example, you can tell the user to enter a score equals to input enter your score. So you can do like this, tell the user to enter a score and change it first to an int. So you can do something like this, and you can see if score greater than or equals to 80, you understand, you can say and print excellent units, or you can also add the score extra equals to 80%, or let's say extra equals to 10. Let's give him 20% of the score. 20 divided by 80 times 100, 20% of the score. So then we add it now. Final score equals to score plus extra, and we see print your final score is extra, final score, and now we can say if not that, we can say else. We can say else print you deserve no extra score. So you can say you deserve. All right, so that is a piece of code we can write now and try to execute it. We use CLS to clear off all this stuff. All right, so let's try to execute it now. Enter your score 50. You deserve no extra score. What if I had 80 or 85? All right, so I had 110, my final score. So now what is this? This is what we call a suite. The body of the if statement, I already told you about indentation. The body of the if statement is known as a suite, so we call it a suite. So here is a suite from this line to this line. The if statement ends immediately it sees the first statement that has an indentation, the same with it, or at the else statement. So as you see, so here is what we call a suite. We call it the body, or we call it a suite. It starts from the semicolon, you understand. So, and the else statement also can have a suite. It can have other statements down here, it can have other statements, but that's its own suite. And once it finds a statement which has the same indentation with it, it knows its suite ended at the line before that statement. So in this case, the suite ends on line 13 because JJJ is has the same indentation as the else statement. So you can call it the body of the statement or the suite. The suite is a collection of statements that or expressions belonging to another expression. So these expressions are part of the if statement. So I just want you to know that. Okay, so many statements have suites. We know about the while statement, you know, even when you know about the def statement to create a function, the def statement usually has a suite. Even the class statement has a suite. Class people, people usually has a suite. Too. Pass. So func. So func. So those are statements. Even the while statement, while x is greater than 2, or while even the for statement, for example, also has a suite for x in range b10. Usually C has a suite. I'm using the pass because I don't want to put anything in the body. You can use pass if you want the body to be empty, or else the code, for example, if you leave this body empty, it's going to generate an error. So using pass, it tells the compiler pass. I know what I'm doing. Like, I'm not going to put the body is empty, just pass. You understand? So you can use it in a for, or you can use it in a while x in range 10. It should not even work. Yes. So pass, all this stuff. So um, you can do all this. So all these are parts of suites. They can contain multiple statements, multiple statements, multiple statements. So that's what we talk about when what we mean when we say the suite of an expression or something. So like you see here, you have the header. The header of this suite is this if. The header of this suite is the else. The header of this suite here is the def func. The header always ends with a semicolon. So you should know why the suite starts. So we're going to look at that, and I think this should be the end. We're going to continue from the next tutorials with assignments, values to variables, and all those. So you're going to understand what that means. So at this point, I would say this is the end of this tutorial. We have learned multi-line statements. We have learned quotation marks. We have learned, I think, comments in Python, blank lines, waiting for user input, multiple statements, and lastly, we're going to show you if a particular suite, for example, just has one statement, like this else, you see this else just has one statement. You can put it on the same line and you're good to go. You can do like this. Instead of putting it on the next line, you can put it on the same line like this, and it will still work normally. If I compile, if I execute this, you see, if I write 70, they will still tell me you deserve no extra score. You can put it on the same line. Okay. Yeah, so you can do that if you want to print another statement, for example, like this, you can do that again. It's going to generate an error because there's a mixture in indentation. If you have more than one line, it must be like this, so you understand. So sorry, I want to execute here. It must be like that. Yeah, but if it's just one, you don't need to put it on a separate line. You can put it on the same line. Perfect. All right, guys. So that's it for introduction to Python. In the next video, we're going to move further from this point, but I hope you guys through these two parts tutorials on introduction to Python can now code at least you're comfortable with using numbers and strings to a certain extent. At least you're comfortable with using Python to get started. So see you later, and have a nice time. Okay.